Interesting. So yeah, when I actually watched the video, when I watched it again, because when you watch something once, you read something once, you're taking in a lot of information. You're going through the story of the narrative. But when you watch or read something a second time, you're really taking in a greater amount of detail,
Exactly.
a lot
Yeah.
of great understanding. So when I actually watched it a second time, I actually really took in the concept of framing, and I said, one of the questions I had, which we can come back to, is that in terms of my relationship with my family, as much as it's wrong for them to see me the way that they do as the baby of the family. It's always important to be self-reflective. It takes two to tango in terms of any situation. So then I had to ask myself, am I at fault for the way everyone perceives me? Not beyond like the fact that I make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes.
Obviously, everyone makes mistakes.
Sorry?
Obviously, everyone
Exactly.
makes mistakes. Yeah.
But am I at fault for that sort of ranking within my family until this day? And so, I told you about my situation with my family on Sunday, and leading up to that, my sister sent me a text. She said, "Take off work Sunday." She just simple as that.
Wow.
Simple as that.
Wow.
She's come a long way in terms of her having kids, but those are still things that happen in terms of our dynamic, especially with what's going on with the situation, which I'll tell you more off camera at some point. And so normally I usually have like a hostile reaction to that, where I'm just like, no, I'm not. That sucks. I'm not gonna show up with the family. Blah 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 blah. But I decided to take. But that just really reinforces that for me. I'm like, well, you've been taking this action every time. Hasn't changed anything really, because you're still going through these sort of power dynamics with your older sister. Why don't you try framing it? So instead of like immediately responding, I took the time to really think about my answer. And so I told her I would. What did I say? I said I would want to, but how am I going to pay off my credit card because it's so high right now? I would love to take the day off, but unless you have a solution for me, what am I to do? And so that actually made my sister double back, and she said, oh, I wasn't being considerate of your privilege, of my privilege of being able to take days off work to go deal with family issues. You can't do that because as where you work, you don't get paid days off because you're part-time. And so she actually apologized.
It made her right. Oh, wow.
Yeah, exactly.
That's huge.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
She apologized.
She called me and apologized
thing.
about doing that. And so I was like, okay, there you go. And so like even moving forward from that, when I met my family with regards to the family situation, because they were complaining about how I wasn't really there, normally once again I'd have a hostile reaction. But this time I actually, I took the time to really hear in what they were saying. Make sure obviously my body language was open, my arms weren't folded. I wasn't like this. My eyes weren't closed. I would see.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean when you go like this.
Exactly.
Or like this.
Exactly. Body language says a lot when you, in terms of talking with people. So having your hands open like this, not closed off, arms not folded, leaning over. People, it looks like you're receptive to what what you're saying to people, and what you're hearing. So I made sure, obviously my posture, my body language is very open. Didn't know that, in the case of my family, they're in a very emotional state. So, when you're in an emotional state, you're like blaming.
Yeah, exactly.
It's an easy thing to do.
It's a very easy thing to do. Yeah, obviously, because the thing is, that reaction of like fighting back obviously could have worked maybe if there were different people.
Precisely.
But in their case,
especially as elders, and I'm
you're younger.
Baby.
Yeah, you're baby.
Going back on the baby of the family, let alone with my extended family.
Yeah, it almost seems like, I don't know what goes through their minds, obviously, but I'm under the impression that maybe, in fact, even that the way you perceived it when you were like fighting back in a way was, oh, he's throwing a tantrum.
Precisely, it's just
again,
he's just doing it again.
Reinforces the image of like being a child to them.
Exactly, and that I don't know about my African culture, and so even though I'm very well versed in it, I know more about our history than like any of them.
Usually, people who don't respect their elders are young, immature people.
Exactly.
Blah blah. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I had the same issue actually. Since
that's why
I was always the arrogant one, or not arrogant, but more so like the insolent one. I was like never respectful. I was not aware of my boundaries and whatever it is, because I was the black sheep of my family. I was always different. I was loud mouth, loud. I'm just open, you know, like very direct, very dry. So that obviously caused a lot of problems in the past. So yeah, that definitely makes a big difference.
There you go. And so, with regards to the situation, what they wanted me to do more, to be more supportive of the family, is they wanted me to be there more. And I said, okay, that's great. Let's explore, instead of me just being like, oh, you don't know my situation, which they don't. I said, okay, so how can we get to that point? I understand what you're saying, but how can we concretely make plans to make that possible? I have credit to pay off. I have bills to pay. I live on my own. I work every day. I don't have money to extend to go downtown or take the bus or drive my car downtown and pay for parking. So what solutions can we take to do that? And eventually came to the point where they realized I needed more financial assistance in order for me to get to what they want.
You're right.
Even though initially one of my uncles didn't like hearing that, the rest understood that. Because they're like, okay, well, yeah, it's true. I've been working every day, and I'm trying to get to, especially with this Black Nerds Talk series, I'm trying to get to where I want to get to in terms of financial independence. But how do you want me to do that if I'm not there yet? And you want me to achieve these certain things for the family. So once again, I used framing once again in my advantage, where it made them understand certain things once again. So
it made them consider the fact that, well, actually, it made them see that you do have a life, you have obligations, you have responsibilities that are outside of the family household also.
Precisely.
Which is something that is very easy to forget, especially when
you're the baby of the family. You don't have any responsibilities. What do you have to do?
Exactly. In their minds, you're just perpetually without any responsibilities.
Exactly.
So why couldn't you be taking the day off there?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's obviously a thing there. I mean, for my part, I definitely don't have it hard. I used to argue a lot more with my parents. Have more differences with my family. The thing is, I'm still kind of a black sheep in the sense that I'm not the black sheep anymore. I'm more like the wild card. They don't know if I'm going to be there.
True.
So that's different there. Obviously, I should do a better job at being like a family member. But I'm on my grind. Just like working on making games, learning more about games, learning more about businesses, and just the whole thing, honestly. So now I think that they're at the point where they get it. They know I'm up to something. They don't think that they're gonna like find me one day homeless or like dead in a back alley doing some drug deal or something.
Well,
because my grandmom thought I was a drug dealer, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" She was like, "You're always out."
You never told me this, for real?
Oh yeah. Well, not necessarily just a drug dealer, but like a hooligan or something that I was
up to crime, up to no good.
Crime, exactly.
Wow.
She thought that I was up to no good. That I like doing bad things.
No temptation.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, no. She always thought that She always told my mom stuff like, "Oh, you gotta watch him, what he's doing. 'Cause at some point he's not gonna come back home, and shit like that." So it was pretty funny. I was always perceived as this wild kid, but I've never been a wild kid. I've always been like for my entire life, I've been a house cat. But it's like people don't get it.
This actually makes you want to ask another question. When it comes to framing being put in these boxes, would you say, because I would argue that your personality is similar to mine, would you say that, or even Cap 2, when it came to him being a boss and how he confronted Nick Fury at the beginning of the movie, which culminated in the movie where S.H.I.E.L.D. was gotten rid of, and it was Captain America who made a point of standing his ground in terms of not wanting to be in a box and looking at the world in terms of this is what happens when you put everything into a little box. When you compartmentalize everything, things get lost in translation. Broken telephone. Would you say, when you look at Captain America, when you look at myself, and when you look at yourself, when it comes to these issues, when it comes to hierarchy in families or any organization, would you say that it's ego? Why you don't want to be in these boxes? Is that a bad thing? Is that a good thing? How do you see it as a person?
I don't think that it's entirely ego. I do think that part of it can be ego. I do think that you need ego to be able to even have I guess just a certain level of ego to actually have a certain level of drive.
Okay.
Because I think that honestly, if you don't have any ego whatsoever, like how are you gonna tell yourself that you know that you deserve like this spot or like this much in your life? You know what I mean? In my, I don't know. That's the way I see it. Like if you have no ego whatsoever, which is absolutely impossible. You can't. There's nobody in life that can just have no ego whatsoever. People can control their ego. People can tame it and all of that. You know, but saying, you know, like basically, oh, is it because? Yes, kind of. I would say it's kind of because ego a little bit, but not entirely. There's, you know, drive, obviously, you know, but.
And if it is ego, would you say it's a bad thing? Because I know I would say
depends.
like.
I think I would like to think that, you know, anything in moderation is fine, but anything in excess can be very much toxic or just detrimental to like whatever situation there is. Also, for example, you know, I mean, let's say that we took you for example and we boosted it like times 10. Obviously, at that point, that wouldn't be you doing what you have to do and more. That would be you doing things you're not supposed to do. Period. You know what I mean? As good as the things could be, as good as your intentions could be. It's like at some point, like let's say, you know, you're supposed to be like this low ranking employee, like underling, and you're just like acting like you're a chief. Now we have a problem.
Conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest, but actually more than conflict of interest, you're just not doing what you're supposed to do. You know, it's like you're a grunt, but you're acting like you're a chief. And
like
maybe
Sephiroth, see what I did there? Sephiroth, Final Fantasy VII remake. Look out for it. But yeah,
you know, like you could very well be a chief. You know, like deep down, you have the potential to be a chief, but at that moment, you're still a grunt. So you still have, I would say that, you know, to be able to attain like the level that you believe you deserve, you still need to like respect a little bit, you know, the grind. Because if you don't respect it, you will have people who will feel threatened by your drive and what happens. And well, sometimes even for
is it wrong to have that drive then if people are threatened by it?
I
in the
know,
case of
no,
my situation at work.
No, yeah,
so
but no, it's not.
Would you say
it's not wrong to have a certain drive. It's just how you handle it, which actually comes back to, you know, it's not framing per se, but it is part of, you know, is a concept that is parallel to framing, you know, which is just gauging, really, you know, like going gradually and just being able to like gauge how much you're able to do to respect certain boundaries, right? Like basically putting your effort in a box, aka framing your effort, and while constantly changing the framing so that you can keep going forward. But I do believe that we still have to, like, you know, put certain boundaries, because if you're out there and you're just like doing other people's jobs and stepping over people's toes also, then you're gonna have a problem. Because I mean, I've seen people who are like absolutely driven. They wanted to go up so bad, they start snitching on the other people, they start acting like they were managers, and it was just too much. It was causing problems. Those people never got promoted, because it's pretty simple. Why would they pay someone that is already doing you know, like the basic job, and they're doing some extra work, you know? If that person seems like, you know, they're not there for the interest of the company, so they're there for their own interest, you know? Because I mean, let's say, you know, you are a manager and you have this guy who's doing absolutely everything you want. He's doing the extra, but you know also he's causing a shit ton of problems, because he doesn't give a crap about anyone. He's gonna throw anyone he wants under the bus for your convenience. Let's say when you're not at work, let's say you're working in the store, and when you're not at work, you know, you can rely on him to like report to you everything. That's great, right?
And then, well, if he's like that already, just to add on to what you're saying, if he's already like that, then he's already the perfect underling, the perfect employee. So why would you promote him?
Exactly. Because the thing is, you also know that he would not be good in your position, because for the amount of problems he's already causing, imagine him being in power. You know what I mean? And more than that, in fact, is that, let's say you take him as your assistant, you know, he's the type of person who doesn't give a crap about like throwing his peers
under the bus,
people of the same ranking,
yeah,
then what tells you that as your, let's say, assistant manager, since you're the manager, what tells you that he's not going to try to overthrow you in some way, set you up?
very true.
Still your job, you know. But that's the thing, right? We still gotta trust people in some ways. But it's just you have to look at personality traits, work ethic, morality, yeah, and kind of gotta go along with that. There's no clear path, right? But essentially, I would say that when it comes to having drive and having problems with authority, I think that all entails a little bit of ego in some ways.
Okay.
It does entail, no, it definitely entails ego. It's not the sole, the sole thing that is responsible for
that,
but definitely is part of it. I mean, a little ego never hurt anyone. You know.
Very true. Very true.
Obviously, if your ego is like as big as I don't know, like a hot balloon, then we're gonna have to talk. You know.
That Kanye West,
right? Yeah, that is very problematic. But yeah, no, it's just I think that you definitely do need a little bit of that ego. Otherwise, how can you believe that you're not at a spot that you should be in and that you deserve to be higher up?